Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Paul. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Blasting the shot. What a goal!
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Wolves Fancast, part of the 90 Min Football Network. Joining me this evening to talk about the win against Palace and also the upcoming game against Brighton, I've got Tom and Josh with me. Boys, we've all but secured Premier League football for next season.
Thank God for that. Thank God.
Life is good. Yeah.
Feels too simple for Wolves. Like, it feels like we should have had to go to Arsenal last game of the season to try and win, but like to be comfortable with like 5 games to go, it's like this just isn't Wolves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, about 6 weeks ago, I tweeted saying that we needed about 10 points out of the next sort of 5 games or whatever it was, and we'd be clear. And we've hit that 10-point mark now, and we'll talk a little bit in terms of upcoming games, but it's going to be really fascinating how they approach these next few games, because you look at the record that we have under Lopetegui. I read a stat earlier today that if we'd have had 0 points when Lopetegui joined, we'd have only been 2 points off safety. Now, that might have sort of slightly changed with the Forest game at the moment going on, but it just kind of goes to show, how low we were and how much we've improved. But before we talk about the game yesterday, a couple of bits of housekeeping as always. So again, you're hopefully not sick to death of me mentioning it, but we have got our charity game coming up at the start of June against some other fantastic content creators from across the country, including a Brighton fan as well. So hopefully we'll touch base with them after the game as well as I think we've got Anfield Rap as well. Quite a few from all over the place as well, but it should be a really great game. Of course, as mentioned, it is for charity. We are raising funds for the mental health charity Mind. The link is in the description if you're watching it. It's live on YouTube as well. So feel free to donate if you can do, of course. Now, the other thing that came out of the show we did on Sunday was we talked a lot about Wolfie. And I know, but you know what? We had people coming out in swarms to give their opinions. I did a poll on Instagram. Now, I'm firmly in the husband and wife camp.
Same.
Tom, fantastic. Now, Tom, how about you? Are you husband and wife or brother and sister?
No, I'm old school, so I'm husband and wife. I always remember it being husband and wife.
See, I feel like I'm grateful for that, because I feel like there's almost going to be like an age line of where you have it. So I did a poll on Instagram, and it kind of shocked me, to be honest, because it was saying that 51% said brother and sister. I mean, part of me was a bit annoyed it wasn't 48-52, so I could have made a Brexit joke, but you know, we'll move past that. Now, we did have a listener contact us via Instagram, Jim Taylor, I want to say off the top of my head. And he said he found a program he was flicking through the other day anyway. And just a coincidence, it was from the 94-95 season. And in there, it mentions Wolfie having a girlfriend called Wilma Wolf. And it's very much done by a young fan and whatever. But there's just so much backstory to this all now. And I'm beyond fascinated. I'm dedicating more time to Wolfie's biography than I frankly should at this point.
Who's the point of contact to the club?
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Like,
always playing both sides.
Yeah, it's not like you can contact, Jeff Shee, Jack Hayward, or anyone like that. Who do you contact? Exactly. Maybe it's a problem we've got to solve for ourselves.
I feel like it is. And I'm umming and ahhing about whether we just do like an official biography and see if like through like fan pressure we can create that into like common law, like how I guess like in Star Wars or whatever, where like you have all this fan fiction, or whatever, and sooner or later it then just creeps into the official canon of it. I know it might be up to us at this point because I don't know. Do you see Jeff Shea answering got an ask balls? I mean,
No.
we both know, we all know I'm going to put the question to him when they sort of do their bit, and Johnny Phillips is going to see it and sigh, thinking how many years of journalism training he's had, how many expert years he's had at Sky, being genuine one of the top broadcasters in that remit to ask a question about the Wolves mascot. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we're still on a mystery here, guys. Is all I'm saying. What isn't a mystery is how well Wolves have been doing recently. Because yes, we had a blip the other day, but we're 3 wins out of 4 at home, and 6 wins out of 8 over at home. I think it's overall as well. So life's pretty good, and a response was needed after Leicester because we did drop off after conceding a penalty. And I think we very much got one yesterday. I think that the lineup, was indicative of that in terms of needing a bit of change and a bit of freshening up. Josh, what were your sort of thoughts when you first saw the lineup?
I quite liked it. I thought, obviously, everyone was a bit disappointed Gomez wasn't playing, but I really liked him bringing in Bueno because I think he's a great fullback. I think he's, as much as like Totti's been brilliant, I think Bueno is just such an excellent attacking fullback. He's got such a big future in the game. So I really like that. And I could understand Juan coming in. Maybe they thought Juan coming for Costa, but there was no gropes with that. I could understand why he didn't play Sarabia again.
Yeah, I think it's felt like Bueno's had to be really patient since that injury. He's got, and part of it's because of the form of Totti, Gomez, and kind of not deserving to be dropped. And I think Lopetegui's been pretty solid in terms of playing people who haven't let him down and not trying to change it too much.
I think he really likes Bueno. I think
he's got a big future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's everything that Aït-Nouri should be or should have been.
Yeah,
he's got a brilliant with the ball at his feet. His touch is excellent. He's great at beating a man. Puts a great cross in. He looks a real find, and just again out of nowhere, really.
It goes overlooked how good he is defensively. Like yesterday, Elise didn't get a kick until Totti come on.
Yeah.
And I think like a couple of times at the back post yesterday. I think there's one in the first half. He did it about 3-4 times. It's like his defense. I think fullbacks. It's like the defensive side gets lost a little bit. Whereas I think with Bueno, he's just so good at it. Like you just automatically expect him to do well.
Yeah, he's so solid and dependable, but dynamic as well.
Yeah,
and Tom, you're completely right. Like we're singing Aït-Nouri's praises 12 months ago, and we're really kind of expecting him to properly push on. And all right, this season's been a bit of a dud for a lot of players, don't get me wrong, but you've got an argument to say he's currently third choice left back.
Yeah.
Well, at very least, let's be honest, he's not got a sniff at the moment of getting in this lineup. And even when Johnny's back from suspension, genuinely, where do you rank Aït-Nouri? And it's not like Aït-Nouri's been, god awful this season or anything, but it just does not feel like him and the manager are clicking. I think it's going to be, he might be one of those where when we come through even the pre-season or we're off season and talking about who we think might go, you get the impression
it's going to be him.
Yeah,
he's on the list, isn't he?
Exactly.
Lopetegui, I think, purely based on like how he's obviously a very functional manager and all about system and how he wants the game to be played, how he wants players to play and what he wants them to do, where he wants them to be. Very systematic. And if you look at the players, such as Aït-Nouri, Podence, when he just binned him from the team for a period of time, they're like those type of maverick players. Even Adama, he started Adama quite a lot to start with, and we haven't really seen much of him really now because you can't trust him to probably carry out follow the instructions how he wants it. And that's why I think he likes Hwang. That's why I think a lot of managers have liked Hwang, because he just is functional. He does what he's told. And I think you'll see a lot of those types of players binned off in the summer, and he'll do people who follow his instructions to the T.
I think that's kind of one of the reasons why he brought in like the likes of Sarabu as well. You say having that very functionality within their game to follow everything. I was quite happy to see Hwang start as well, because he seems to be on a bit of a redemption arc. Because I mean, Tom, me and you slated him a lot last season. And at the start
we weren't
of this
wrong
season,
though. Come on, we were.
No,
You've been watching last season. It's not wrong.
We slated him for pretty much the entirety of 2022, but he slowly but surely. I mean, let's talk about the game yesterday, because it started kind of as we wanted it to go on, but we got a goal so early.
Yeah.
Kind of out of nothing, to be honest. But one thing that made me quite, it was a dangerous set piece.
Who'd have thought it?
Do you know what I mean? Like, you get so used to, the Matinho ones where either a bit floated or they don't beat the first man. This one was kind of just everything you want from a corner in terms of making the defenders question what they're trying to do. And obviously, decent centre half, don't get me wrong, but goes in the back of his own net.
I don't want to take nothing away from it. It feels very hit and help though when you watch it, because like where it ends up, it's like at the shins on a 6-yard box. It's like no self-respecting team should be letting that go in. Really, like it was such like, I think it was just, I'm going to put it in the mixer and hope it happens. And for once, it actually did.
I've got to take him. I think it was for Kuna at the near post, wasn't it? I think that it was one of those ones. But I mean, clearly Neves is obviously our better set piece taker, but they obviously haven't wanted him taking corners because they want him, 20 yards from goal, which is understandable. But if the corners are as shite as they have been, let's why not just let Neves take them now?
I do find it genuinely bonkers within that team of very technically gifted players. There's not a huge amount of quality set piece delivery. I mean, if it wasn't the fact he played left back and he's not even a wing back, so to speak, but I'm sure Bueno's probably got a decent whip on him.
Definitely.
In the corner.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, and set pieces have been a real sticking point for Wolves this season in terms of how truly unproductive we are from them. And you know what? It was as scrappy as it comes. But you got to take it, haven't you? And but I thought for that opening 20 minutes or so, I thought we were just solid across all facets of the pitch. You had Costa linking it well with like Frank and Kuna. The midfield were working their socks off in the middle of the park, and the defence, Craig Dawson. I love the man.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Just honestly, I thought he was going to make Jordan Ayew cry at one point.
He's having a proper tantrum, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was.
Like pounding the floor like a little 2-year-old. It's just embarrassing. But even when Dawson fucked up and he tried to turn, I think on the edge of on halfway, and nearly got caught out. He still somehow won a free kick from it. It was a free kick, but I don't know how he did it. But even when he cocks up, he does something good.
I was going to say when I watched that in real time, I thought, oh, hang on, what's I'm used to seeing a centre half, do a 2-yard touch or whatever. But when you watch it back, he almost makes the defender, the Palace player, commit the foul by wrapping his arm around the Crystal Palace's body, and just I need to fall over now. And it was very canny, and I think Collins has got a big future. But I think if Collins had that first touch, he'd have got a yellow card 2 seconds later.
Yeah,
I think Dawson's just come in like perfect timing, wasn't it? It's like it just suited everyone. It's just been like it's almost like a revelation, almost like the 2 million quid we spent. it's just so nice to just watch it with Wolves. Like, it felt like we went through so many seasons of just every sign we made was a dud. Like, there was all crap. And like now it's like at the minute they can't even get in the starting level. Like Gomez plays well and can't even get in the first team. It's just nice to have that change.
Yeah,
I think we overlooked how much better Kilman's been since Dawson's next to him as well. So it's just like he's raised his game, tenfold really from where it was with Collins, and it's not a coincidence.
No, you could probably argue the same about Smedo as well in terms of having someone just who can see through his game a little bit more. And I was going to say, to quote Jake Humphries, he just does the absolute world-class basics. I think there was a foul he committed on. It would have been IU because then to have like a battle all game. But it was one of the first time. I think he's already floored him once and didn't get the decision. And then it was it must have been like a goal kick or a clearance of a pitch. And Dawson just steamrolled through him. And he just absolutely pummeled him to the ground. It was given as a free kick. And it was fair, don't get me wrong. But you just don't see that as often anymore. And it's just something so refreshing about a defender who just wants to defend. And he's good on the ball as well. He always has been, even when he was with the Boggies. But he's just so simple in what he does in his game.
Every team needs it. Every team needs a player like that. And Josh done it perfectly. He's just absolutely what we needed at the time, 100%.
Just to interrupt. Talking of Baggies, they're losing 1-0.
Oh, good. Warms your soul, doesn't it? Absolutely warms your soul. I was going to say, there are a couple of games going on at the moment, which we have got 9:30. Of course, Forest are playing tonight. West Ham playing tonight. West Ham are currently losing 2-1 now, by the way. After their VAR goal got disallowed, and Forest are unfortunately winning 1-0 against our opponents at the weekend, Brighton. But yeah, I just thought we were really solid in that first half. And when I watched it back and listened to the commentary, it was very biased about, Palace need to do this, this, and this. I got a bit frustrated because we're not talking about Wolves. But then I can't realise, it's because we're really restricting them. We're saying, Palace need to get their wingers involved more. But we shut their wingers down. And all these little things, any of the strong points around Palace, we seem to do a really good job, not just that back line, but in midfield as well, really nullifying.
That two players all game. They just had two players. You take those two players out of the game, they had absolutely nothing. And they're very, very good players. Eze and Alicia, and they were causing us a real problem. We'll go into the second half, but at some point. But if we took them out of the game, we were always they didn't have anything, did they? At all.
No. I think Eze is probably too good for Palace. Like the way he plays.
He was brilliant.
You know what? I love him.
He was absolutely brilliant. And when he moved into the centre, I shot myself when he moved into the centre because they moved him, didn't they, from out wide into centre? And I thought, shit, he's going to have a field day.
He's a great little player, isn't he? You watch him, you just think a lot of teams could do with something like that. So a bit of dynamism in midfield, going to take the ball on. I was quite impressed with Eze.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love him at Wolves, but we'd full on ruin him.
Oh, 100%.
It's the easiest way I could describe him, because he reminds me of Sacco. In that way, he kind of just beats a man and has that pure, genuine power when he unleashes a shot. And I think it must have been one of the first half when he danced inside and then sort of shot one straight down the barrel of Sarr. And I thought, what? If he actually gets it anywhere near the corner, no stopping that. But yeah, that for the first sort of say half an hour, they barely got a sniff. And I think it kind of helps that obviously we're a bit more compact in the midfield. So actually when you've got those players who are coming inside, and Elise's very one-footed. Eze likes to come inside onto his right as well, as best he can do. It kind of plays into our strengths a bit.
It did, yeah. Coming inside, it funneled it into the midfield, didn't it, for us?
Yeah, I think I guess sums up Palace in a way that because they can be so functional with that. They don't have Zaha as well at the moment because he's out injured, but without I guess that third player to really make any of them plays shift beyond 5-10 yards inside the wings, it really helped us. But going into the second half, I'll be honest with you, I did not enjoy that second half. It was scrappy as fudge. I'll go for. I don't know why I swear all the time on here. I don't know why I decided not to then. But no, it wasn't a tremendous game of football, and I think Wolves tried to really reduce that game to nothing as best as possible.
They tried everything, didn't they? But the thing is, Palace didn't exactly create loads of chances, did they? It was they just give Palace. I think the idea was don't let Palace counter attack you. It's a bit like when we first come up, we was crap with the ball, but if we counter attack, we was brilliant. It was like just give Palace the ball and they're not going to score. As strange as that sounds, they're not going to break us down. They're only going to score if we make the mistake.
Yeah, I get that, and I think when you look at kind of the XG stats from the game, and Wolves won the XG battle, as it were, 1.57 to 0.68, and obviously for those who are watching on YouTube, you'll see the massive amount came from the penalty. But when you look at a lot of Palaces, a lot of them were pot shots, a lot of them were from quite far out, and Sar's an interesting player to talk about yesterday because I think he had a really solid game apart from when he sort of threw the ball behind himself at one point.
Yeah, his distribution wasn't great, but yeah, it was nice for him to have a good game because, let's face it, he cost us the game on Saturday. But he made two really important saves. I think they're good saves. I think you're disappointed if your keeper lets them in, but I think they were very important saves. The one thing that pissed me off about the Eze one because he had two, didn't he, really quickly. So he's done it once where it's come out to him on the edge of the box, nearly scored, and then we haven't stuck a man on him, and he's done exactly the same thing again.
Same.
That really wound me up. Obviously, they've got structure that they work on in the, leading up to the game where they've got to be in certain spaces and corners, but a bit of in-game management there would just stick someone on him on the edge of the box who's doing exactly the same again. But yeah, you're right. Those are the only two. He had that bit save in the first half, which I thought was offside, but I don't know if that was ever confirmed. And then the one he tipped over in a second. But yeah, other than that, I can't remember him creating too much.
No, as I say, it felt like we sat just very deep and just made sure they, I guess, didn't really overload our box particularly. Or I know even have lots of territory in that final third for them as well. I think a lot of that comes down to the midfield for me as well, because I do think Sarr had a bit of a point to prove, and you're right, Tom. Like his saves weren't spectacular, but they were solid. And I think after the weekend, he needed that. Like it wasn't about it being for the cameras or anything. It was just making sure you managed to get through that game with no errors.
Yeah.
No.
And it was. I think that concerned me about the second half. There was no counter-attacking threat there. Was there? Like we didn't look once dangerous, and it was kind of concerned because like you've got to give yourselves an 8 ball, haven't you, at that level? Because teams are going to pin you back, and you're not going to be able to not give them chances. You've got to start to offer something on the counter, a bit like we did at Chelsea and things like that. It's give them something to think about, but we just kept dropping deeper and deeper and deeper. It felt like this is going to be so balls. We'll concede late on, and we'll blow our best chance of staying up, sort of thing. Like getting solid points on the board.
Do you think a lot of that comes down to the fact that we're still figuring out that forward line? Because Diego Costa's again his form's has definitely gone up. He looks a lot fitter, a lot leaner. He still did some really solid things yesterday for me as well in terms of his hold up play, his link play. One thing I've noticed about Diego Costa and I really love is when he, let's say, goes up for a header and he falls to the ground, or if he gets tackled or just gets knocked over, his instinctual reaction is to lift his legs up. So, like, if there was a player anywhere near him, he will just clear them out with his legs. And he did it two or three times yesterday. Usually, when there wasn't a player, like one was a player near him, the other two they weren't. And I know I find it a fascinating instinctual reaction just to take, if there's anyone near me, I'm taking them down with me. But back to my original point, you can't necessarily rely on him to, be that totem pole for 90 minutes, and you need other players around him as well, because it's all well and good lumping it up to him, but you need to have people in and around him, around him as well. And it still feels like, Kuna's been doing really well for me. Hwang will give you that energy, but
I don't think you level it. Sort of really the forward players for me. I don't know. I think they panicked. They didn't get the foot on the ball and knock it around. There was I lost count of how many times they just smack it up. I think they got really jittery and panicky, which was a bit of a shame. So I think it's almost like they weren't driving from. It started at the back, basically. I think you can level it at each position. I think it'd be harsh to isolate.
That's a fair comment. I think it's like a cohesion as well, and like playing time. Like, I think when you've played together like 3 or 4 seasons, like Jota and like Adama and Jimenez did, it's easy to know what each of us going to do. Whereas these boys are, they're still like you say, we're changing the forward line every game and stuff like that. So it's probably hard to build these little bonds and things like that on the pitch that are going to enable you to do these things.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully over the summer we can make those changes. Yeah. How did you guys think Neves got on yesterday? Because obviously it felt like he had I guess he had a bit of a point to prove.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I thought it was fine. I thought it was typical Neves, to be honest. It's not. Everyone's really hung up on this at the moment, and people are Stu's getting it from all angles on Twitter. No one's saying he's not a brilliant player. No, he's our best player. I don't think anyone disputes the fact that he's our best player. It's just the way he plays. It changes how we play, and are we better playing a different way? I don't know. I thought he was fine. I don't think I thought he was running around. He was still doing the pressing and chasing and things like that. He's not the same player as the others. He wasn't quite taking it off the defender's toes quite as much. I didn't think this game. He was a little bit further forward, wasn't he? So that was a bonus.
I think it's typical Twitter. It's like there's 2 extremes, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Like, I think this idea that Neves, we're better without Neves, is. It's like football. It's horses for courses. Each game is different. You don't play the same game twice. Some games next season when if he leaves, we'll go that game. If we'd had Neves, we'd have bossed it today. But then you'll have games like Leicester, like we did against Brighton and Brentford and Chelsea, where we'll play better with their team. It's just that's football. It's horses for courses and things like that. And like I said, the truth is somewhere in the middle. The only thing is, I think the worst that could have happened was, when against Leicester, you come on second half and we lost. It was like, it was easy to point the finger at that and go, that's why we lost. When, in matter of fact, you could look and go, there's a variety of reasons. There was Leicester brought on a third man in midfield. There wasn't as open in the second half. Little things like that, So I think the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, very much agree. I think you can. It's easy to become a prisoner of a moment. With a lot of the stuff about Neves, and they say, "Oh well, we won 2 games and he didn't play, and his replacement played really well, and he's going in the summer, whatever." And just enjoy it. But I guess that brings us nicely onto the penalty, because I've watched it back enough times now. God, if that's it's a football cliche, right? But anywhere else on the pitch, that's a red card, yeah.
100%. The massive irony of this is we've been screaming for a penalty for ages, and ironically, they've still managed to give us a penalty and get the decision wrong, which is just surreal. It's a red card absolutely all day. There's one still, like just before that, where he's literally flying at him off the floor, and he's about 3 foot in the air.
Yeah.
The only thing is, is it double jeopardy? Is that why they not give the red card?
Violent conduct's different, isn't it? It's not that
Is
isn't
it? I don't know.
That's for me. That's not a red for denying a goal scoring opportunity. That's a red for violent.
It's a red for.
Like, yeah, is it violent?
I got to when it first happened because I was sitting in the South Bank. I was like, "Oh, I don't think that's a penalty." Like I couldn't because I'm the other side. It was like, as he touched, I think he's got the ball there first, and then I looked back. I was like, "Oh, he's nearly broke his ankle."
It's like you can. It's for me. It's like you can tell what Sam Johnson's trying to do, but because he's not an actual outfield player, he's not actually used to doing a slide tackle. So when he actually does it,
that's a proper like never done it before.
Yeah, just throw yourself at it and hope for the best. Saying Neto was bloody lucky he wasn't more injured, and I don't know when you see like all the Palace players like really complaining about it. I was like, what? Like, at what point? And I guess it's in a way got similarities to Nick Pope penalty we didn't get against Newcastle in terms of like just a bad goalkeeping touch. And as I say, like if that was, let's say, Craig Dawson on the halfway line when he does a bad touch, and it was given red, I think you've just got to accept it, haven't you, for a degree, in a way. But it wasn't, and I don't think it's going to have like a massive, massive display on, massive kick on anything. I mean, you could. I said, I don't think he had a massive point to prove or anything because he's earned enough stock, hasn't he? But you could feel the relief from Ruben Neves in terms of like how he celebrated and like whether that was about his own personal performance or form, or whatever you want to describe it, or whether it was like seeing his Instagram or tweets today, sort of saying like, yeah, it's not quite confirmed, but it was a big step of the way there. And like, I feel like that was like quite a big goal for the club to score to kind of
it feels very appropriate. It was
football.
It was Neves as well to score it. Like it feels very apt in terms of football. It's quite funny how these things work. Like all that criticism, but he's still our best player and he's still stepped up at like the time of you could say an assist and then a goal to like effectively seal safety. It's like it's funny how these things work.
I got very much Keogh Derby vibes on that goal.
Yeah,
with the bench clearing out. It's one of those where we're safe without being safe. Do you know what I mean? We've achieved what we wanted to achieve without actually sort of achieving it. And I think you could tell from the fans, you could tell from the management. Optega gave it a bit extra, didn't he, when he was turning to the director's box? Same at the South Bank at the end of the game. I think it's one of those where it's it's almost all but confirmed, and it just had that vibe about it, that goal.
It's going to sound really bad when I say it. In my head, Ruben Neves isn't that great a penalty taker. I know it's because I can remember him missing some penalties. But apparently he's got 8 and 8 in the Premier League for Wolves.
Not 9 and 9, I think.
9 and 9 is it now?
I think it is. I think there's only 2 players better than him. I think. Yaya Toure is one.
And Berbatov apparently has got similar levels as well. And I'm not complaining, but he's apparently really good on. I guess because he went through a period where him and Jimenez seemed to rotate them.
I think it's because they're not very convincing either. Like you watch them, it's like they're just creeping in the corner and things like that. They're not very convincing to score.
He hits it with a weird part of his foot, though, doesn't he? He always tries to do that little topspin movement, but it looks odd over that shorter distance. And I say it doesn't always look convincing, apart from his one yesterday, which I thought he actually put like a lot of power behind it, right in the corner. It's like a proper winning penalty. There's no messing. Like there's no I just trying to scuff it in the corner. That was good. Make sure it was hit in the back of the net. So yeah, but no, life's good. I think you could sense the relief around the club as well, and we've had a few comments on YouTube. Big thanks to everyone who's tuned in, saying, we're not safe yet. Get real. We're still in a relegation battle, and I guess yes, we are to a degree. I'd argue with 5 games left, with being what at the moment is 8 points clear. It would take something for the amount of teams to overtake us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've read something. I think, plus our goal difference, doesn't it? We've got our goal difference almost counts for another point, particularly against up against Forest and Leeds.
Forest
they've won.
Yeah, Gibbs White scored a penalty as well.
Is it 3-1?
Chelsea?
Is it?
Yeah,
3-1.
3-1.
And like Chelsea lost again. Tell you what, 2 points behind them. Imagine saying that at Christmas.
Crazy, isn't it?
If we win on Saturday, we'd jump ahead of him. What?
That is bonkers.
That is crazy.
Also about last night, I thought it mimics quite a bit about the game where we played them away when we were the better team first half, and then the onslaught came from them in the second half, and we would have 100% lost that game pre-Christmas. Last night we'd have just buckled 100%. So I think that just shows you that, although we didn't play great yesterday, I think it just shows you the strides that have been made under Ewan and how he's just got us hard to beat. It's what's that, 3 home clean sheets on the bounce. I don't know if we've done that yet. In the Premier League maybe, but I mean, what a job. And it's been overlooked, I think. Which is always the classic that we always see, because it's not affecting the top of the table, because we're not in London. No one seems to take note of any achievements that come our way. But I mean, he's done wonders. We scored 8 goals before he took over. 8 goals in 16 games. It's just ridiculous.
It's shockingly bad.
That is crazy. Like, you can't believe that's the same season. Like earlier from Hwang, you can't believe that. When he scored when he gave Newcastle the goal.
Yeah,
you can't believe that's the same season.
No.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, so much has happened since then. Like, obviously you've had the World Cup and everything as well, but as that's the same year, same season. That impacted me on now. Like, yeah, of course we did, and you're completely right.
What?
Like, I'm not suggesting that Lopetegui should be manager of the season or whatever, because there are other managers who have arguably had bigger achievements, but the fact that it's so easy to forget where Wolves were when he took over and where we are now. I believe Baggies are now losing 2-0, by the way. Just
they're in serious shit.
So yeah, I say it's looking good going into the weekend. It is game week 34, but there's lots of other fixtures going on at this point as well. So we've got Brighton away, Forest are playing away as well, West Ham, Palace are playing each other at the Saturday kickoff. You've got Leicester Everton, that'll be a really interesting one on Monday night. And you've also got Bournemouth Leeds as well. So there's a few games that are still in the last third of the table, which is going to impact our position. The league table I've got on here is already out of date because Forest have now won, so they get to jump around about a bit. So it's all hildy-piggledy for a bit, but all we can really do is concentrate on the Brighton game. And I'm strangely optimistic. Not even strangely, I just am optimistic now. It's so toxic because, you can't, Brighton are really good. I'm like, I don't care. You've got Craig Dawson. Why would I be scared of anything?
What am I fretting about?
Yeah.
Don't fall into that trap though. Being optimistic against Brighton. It's a classic
I know,
thing, isn't it?
we are
Turn up and win.
legitimately awful against Brighton, and Brighton are legitimately a very good team. Of course, when we played them early in the season, I forgot that it ended 3-2, despite the fact that Semedo got sent off.
Oh yeah,
We got hammered that game. It wasn't a 3-2 game.
No,
Absolutely
exactly. Genuinely, in my head, I thought we lost 4-1, and because we were just they were so good, and I remember it was like after 10 minutes going, we should already be losing 2-0 here, and they just absolutely peppered us. So I think
it's the first time I noticed Matoma. I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" He absolutely tore. Yeah, like I wouldn't say I hadn't heard of him, but I didn't know he was the player he was. He was unreal.
What is this guy doing to Semedo? Like, that was when Semedo was real. People he was just tore him apart.
It was
the day Lopetegui was announced as well, I think. Because I think we spoke to Guillaume on the same day. Because I think I spoke to him just before I started walking towards the ground. So that optimism soon changed.
I was going to say that would have been a sobering 2 hours. We can't go from that to that. I mean, Brighton are doing fantastic this season. Like, don't get me wrong, but do you think Wolves have got an outside chance, or do you think because we are nearly there, it's and I hate the term, but a free hit?
That result. Yeah, that result surprised me tonight. I actually thought they'd be all right. I thought they'd be all right tonight, and I thought we might be able to catch them because I usually feel that it's not the game after. So they've had 120 minutes. I usually find it's not the game after. It's the game after that is where it actually catches up. So they'll have had 3 games in 6 days, one of which has gone 120 minutes. But that's a big defeat for them tonight because they have 4 games in hand on some teams, I think.
Yeah,
they were really in the hunt for 5th.
At one point.
Yeah, they're really in the hunt for 5th. That's a real kick in the teeth, that is. And I know they've got a couple of injuries. But I think it's still going to be a very tough game. They're a brilliant side, Brighton. Whenever I watch them, they look really, really good. So we've got to be our best to probably get anything realistically, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be it is going to be a tough game for us, don't get me wrong. But I think for the areas which was so poor on last time out, and the fact that we are just a bit more solid defensively, really just stand us in that bit better stead to hold our nerve against a team like that, because they are so swashbuckling and they are kind of pressing in what they do. In my opinion, you kind of just need to be able to hold your nerve and not necessarily, get everyone behind the ball and just beat them on the counter attack. But you just need to be like extra bit disciplined. So when they do try and stretch you and try and look to overload areas of the pitch, that you can have that focus and sense of what you're doing to be able to, know what to do. And we definitely didn't have that in the first game we played against them. That's going to be a big thing for me. And I guess I'm trying to work out what we do around sort of team lineup as well, because it doesn't want to change your winning lineup. You've got we've got the best problem a manager can have in terms of players who aren't even starting on form. Say João Gomez is a perfect example. You could bring him in for Neves or Nunes or whatever, and it not feel like anyone's getting dropped or anything, because you're wanting to almost rotate them. And that forward line, at the moment it seems to be Costa Cunha and somebody else.
I can't believe Costa got through 90 minutes. I can't believe he got
in
through
1 week.
So is he going to play?
He would never have done that back in October.
No.
He'd have done 45 minutes across 3 games sort of thing. He would never have done that.
I don't think he's done more than sort of 60, 70 minutes yet for us. And to do it off the back of a game, in a midweek game when you've had a game at the weekend impressive. And to be fair, he's still the only time you could tell he just blew his beans on that one where he had that. It wasn't quite a one-on-one, was it? But he did really well, and then he just fell to the floor with exhaustion. I think it was like a horse. It was just like a horse. He just lost everything and he just had to keel over.
It's like his legs is. It's like the mind is willing, but the body just wasn't at that point for him, was it?
But also, if he doesn't play, we won't win.
Yeah,
because we when we look at the team sheet now, I just go straight to the bottom, because if it's not a number 9, then there's just no point.
Yeah,
it's, we always play shite without a recognised number 9, so it needs to be Costa and Keane, I think.
Well, I think it seems to be. I guess for rumour mill, we won't kind of go into sort of tweets and whatever, but Jimenez is just someone who seems just to be nowhere near this team at the moment anymore.
Yeah, something's gone on, hasn't it?
Yeah, very. You never want to read between the lines, but it's very clear that we've had that something has gone on behind the scenes.
It's very Guedes-esque, isn't it? I think he's just you're all in or you're not. I think it really, really wound him up about with the World Cup and stuff. I mean, for a new manager to come in and then sort of have a go at a player who he hasn't even taken for a session or anything like that. I remember his first interview and he said that he shouldn't be going, he should be with us. Because there's a game before that when there's rumours that he could have been picked, but he chose not to be picked so he could concentrate on the World Cup and things, and that's not.
Yeah, was it the League Cup?
But yeah, possibly. Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but it rings a bell. But it's a shame, really, because yes, he's not the player he was. It's just a shame for it to end like this. If it's going to end like this and he's not going to play for us again, it is a shame. I don't think Lopetegui's the type of guy who'll give someone a sentimental 5 or 10 minutes either, I think. So, I mean, my hope would be that, maybe he does get like a little cameo against Everton if, provided everything, there's nothing on the game for us.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem, I don't think he seems that tight, to be honest, which I like and I'm happy with.
Yeah.
That he's like that as a manager. It's just a shame that if it does have to end like this for Jimenez, because he was a fantastic player for us for so many years, and it's almost not his fault that he's not the player he was, really. So his attitude since then's been poor, and again there might be reasons behind that based around the injury. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor, not a psychologist. I don't know, but he's obviously a shadow of his former self. But it is a shame he has to, if that's the last we see of him. Yeah,
I think it's never nice to see a player who is so beloved to kind of go out being the villain. And you sort of dedicate sort of so much energy to these players. And of course, with Jimenez, he had a whole sort of, community rally around him, and I don't think any Wolves fan really begrudges him for not being at the same level he was pre-injury, because it is just so understandable that he, I can cope if he can't do some of the sides of the game for one reason or another. I can cope with that. I can't quite justify some of the attitudes, and particularly when it's sort of self-preservation to play in a World Cup, where he wasn't, either you're fit or you're not fit.
Yeah.
But
that it was ridiculous of that World Cup. It was the equivalent of wheeling out Bully now. Just not. It wasn't. It was pointless. He was just a body. That's all he was. He was. We've only seen bits and pieces of him since then. Playing quite well. I think Fulham rings a bell, and Spurs when he came on at home. And that's the time that he's only looked capable of playing at a reasonable level. So to play in that World Cup was a bit of a joke, really. Again, but you can sort of almost half understand it, can't you? Because it's his last. He's never going to play in another one, and it's every player's dream to do it. But it didn't quite sit right.
No, exactly, and I think the fact that it didn't help that Wolves were playing so badly, and
Yeah.
I don't think 60% fit Jimenez would have made any difference to how we started the season, but it's kind of not the point. If you've got a football club, it's like, oh well, we're not playing well. You've got one guy who's going, I can't play because I need to rest up for our friendly against Peru next week. It's a bit hard to swallow as fans. So it's not necessarily how you want things to end as a player, as a fan, but hopefully he still gets that bit of a moment against Everton or someone like that because he deserves it. And I guess how he's acted and whatever, and the mental shift in his game, he still wants a proper send off from the club, because you could argue that certain players who have had a positive impact in the last 5-6 seasons at Wolves haven't had that opportunity in the same way.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah. Dave Edwards springs to mind. He just sort of left it in. Again, completely understandable. It was good for everyone. But I think he deserves it purely based on everything sort of pre-injury. On that alone, almost regardless of what's happened after. And let's be fair, it's not him that's come out and said all this stuff either.
No, I was going to say there's a lot of reading between the lines of tweets from wives, and
it's guilty by association almost. But it's not. Exactly. It's not like he's come out and said all this shit. So
no, you've got to, you put two and two together with the fact he's not in like the starting lineup or squads and whatever, and and also we love the drama because it is very soap opera-y as well, but we'll see how it plays out. But we're going to wrap it up there today, folks. Big thank you for joining us this evening. If you've been watching live on YouTube, if you're watching back on YouTube, or you're watching it ready now, do make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. We are now up to 2,000 followers. We're really keen to keep seeing that grow with even more original content. So please make sure you give us all the love possible on there. If you want to follow us on other social media platforms, it's at Wolves Fancast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And as I mentioned earlier, make sure you check out our link for the charity football match as well. We will be back after the Brighton match on the Sunday evening. But until then, it's goodbye from Tom.
See you guys.
And it's goodbye from me. See you next time.